Grab a cup of tea or a glass of wine and tune in for Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. On Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, Linda creates sacred space for leading female luminaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. A soulful venue where guests openly share the fears and obstacles they've overcome, wisdom and lessons learned, and the personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic, soulful living.
Welcome to Inspired Conversations. This is your host, Linda Joy, publisher of Aspire Magazine, the premier inspirational magazine for women, celebrating 10 years this year. I'm also the 6-time best-selling publisher behind the boutique publishing company, InspiredLivingPublishing.com, which is dedicated to giving visionary female entrepreneurs, coaches, and health practitioners a voice and a high-profile media and publishing platform to share their wisdom, enhance their expert status, and bring their brand out of the shadows as a published author. All of my brands, including this show, are dedicated to inspiring women to live their best lives. So I am so glad you're here because one of my dearest friends is joining me today, and we're going to be talking about some things that might rock your world and your relationship. And joining me today is Stacey Martino, and we're going to be talking about this breaking news that has really catapulted her success and the results of her clients, because it's this. It does not take two to tango. And Stacey and I are going to talk about when I first heard her say that, I was like, what is she talking about? We'll talk about that in a moment. But after decades of brainwashing, you hear it on the media all the time, to believe that it takes two, Stacey and her husband Paul are flipping the switch. After helping thousands of individuals around the world, they are consistently proving that one partner can transform a relationship, and I'm living proof of that. And you do not need your partner to participate in the process in order to enjoy the results that you want to see in a relationship. Now, I don't know about you guys. That was major for me, and it was over dinner one night with Paul and Stacey at a business meeting. When I first got to meet them in person, I was like, oh, my God. And maybe later on in this conversation, I'll get to share how that one fact, that one truth transformed how I show up in my 20-year relationship. So allow me to introduce Stacey. Sought-after relationship expert Stacey Martino knows that better relationships equal a better life. In stepping out of the old relationship paradigm of couples coaching, Stacey and her husband Paul empower individuals with the tools and strategies to transform not only, and this is a big one, not only their love relationship, but any relationship. And this is the part that I love. You don't need your partner to participate for this to work for you. Stacey is the founder of RelationshipDevelopment.org and the creator of Relationship U, and I am so excited to have you here, Stacey.
Yay! Thank you so much, Linda. I'm thrilled to be with you here today.
Well, I got to tell everyone, full transparency, she is I call her my go-to relationship guru. She's transformed how I show up in my relationship with Dana. She's Aspire Mag's expert columnist for the last few years, and she rocks it because you've really turned everything upside down of what we believed about relationships and about the false belief that couples counseling works. I know it doesn't. And so let's start there. This statement that you have been shouting from the rooftops that it doesn't take two to tango.
Yeah, and that's where I was stuck too. People always ask me, and so many years ago, 16 years ago now, Paul and our relationship was hanging by a thread, and I was stuck too, thinking, well, if, what I hear from people all the time, well, if my partner doesn't want to do anything about it, or if my partner doesn't want to go to the event, or if my partner doesn't want to read the book, or if my partner doesn't want to, then what can change for me? We've all been brainwashed into this, it takes two to tango, you both have to want to work at it, and you're stuck if your partner doesn't change. And that is so sad. That's what gets me up every day, is it creates unnecessary suffering. It keeps good people stuck in a situation situation that's not what they want it to be. Whether your relationship is just not where you want it to be, it's a good relationship, but you really want a magnificent relationship, or your relationship's in a really tough place. Either way, you don't have to stay stuck, because the truth is, and I'm living proof of this, you're living proof of this, Linda, and now thousands of people prove it every day, it does not take two to tango. One partner can absolutely transform a relationship, even if your partner is not participating in the process. And it's because of a dynamic that we all know and experience every single day. We just don't have words for it. And it's about triggers. You know, everybody's been in this situation, right? You can even ask yourself, check in with yourself. You're in the zone, everything is amazing, you're having a great day, you're rocking it, and then you come home or your partner comes home and they're in a crap mood, right? They're complaining about everything, and what happens to your state? You get triggered, right? And next thing you know, your mood's in the toilet, and you're like, hey, why? I was having a great day. Why are you doing this? You're looking at it from the negative, blah, blah, blah. And now they're back to you. You're triggering them. Hey, you don't understand what it's really like. You don't know what I have to put up with. And now back and forth. You're always like this. Now it's back and forth, and it's about you and them. It didn't even start out being about you and them. But they know how to trigger you. You know how to trigger them. And that's what's happening all day in your relationship. We have a saying around here at Relationship Development that you may not be the cause of the crap you don't like from your partner, but you sure as hell are the trigger. We don't mean to do it. We're not intentionally doing it, but we're triggering the crap out of our partner all day. And in fact, so many people, you know this because there are times when you've thought something or you felt something and you didn't even bother to say it because you know exactly what your partner's going to say. And they're sitting there knowing what you're thinking because they know exactly what you're going to say next too. That's because we all know how to trigger our partners, and we all have experienced a time when our partner has triggered us. And those triggers become so unconscious that we just assume that's the only way and that's what's going on. But the truth is that's the power. The power of the trigger is the same dynamic that we're leveraging. We're just teaching you the tools and strategies that really work. The relationship education that no one ever got about actually how to have a magnificent relationship, how to create an unshakable, rock-solid love and an unleashed passion. We teach you the tools and strategies that really work to trigger your partner, trigger the crap out of your partner, but trigger the response that you really want. We unconsciously and with the best of intentions are triggering the response from a partner that we don't want. And no one ever taught us just how to shift a little bit and say this instead of that, do this and that instead of that, appreciate this instead of expecting that, whatever it is. And you can actually trigger a completely different response from your partner, the response that you really want. And when you see it working, like you've seen, Linda, It's just, you get to that moment where you're like, holy crap, why did nobody ever tell me this? This is like so much easier than all the painful stuff I've gone through.
And that's the most important part, Stacey.
How to stop unnecessarily suffering and have a magnificent relationship.
And you just said it. It's so simple, but yet we're never taught it. It should be like from first grade on, because what is life? It's about relationships, not just intimate relationship, all relationships.
Amen.
And
we're working on it, Linda.
Yeah. Oh, I know you are. She's like, I will. I'm going to transform children's lives too, because
Amen. That's
why isn't this stuff taught? Because we go through life, and one of our biggest struggles in life is interacting in our relationships. How do we show up? And
Amen.
When you and I met in person for that time, and we went out to dinner with a group of people that we knew, remember that night, because, of course, when you have, I got to tell you, everybody, when you have a relationship expert at your dinner table, where do you think the topic's going to go? So here they are thinking they were having a dinner, and we're all picking their brain, and Paul and Stacey are so generous with their wisdom and their expertise. And I remember sitting there just taking it all in, loved their energy, and I just loved watching the two of them together as a couple. And so as the conversation unfolded, they shared exactly what you're hearing right now. You know, it only takes one person to transform a relationship. But I was caught up in the old paradigm stuff that we grew up with of, no, you can't, if he doesn't go to counseling. And remember what happened? I never told you this, a month later? I went home from that business trip. I said, I'm going to take one of the things they said, and I'm going to implement it. And I walked in, and it was simple things, because for me, my issue, I felt, was I was not showing up fully and with my full attention. I was always multitasking when I was with him. So I said, I'm going to show up a little differently. And I just would touch his arm as I spoke. I would look in his eyes as I spoke. It was these little things. Now, remember, I'm the only one doing something different, not him. It was instantaneous. And then 3 days later, he actually said to me, so, do you want to tell me what happened on that business trip? So I always wink about that because I said, whoa. I'm the only one. He knew nothing. It was like a science experiment. He knew nothing about what I was doing. And Stace, it was instantaneous. And from that point on, your programs and everything have been part of my life. I'm one of your biggest fans because it was that instantaneous, that powerful, and that validating of I have the power to shift the energy of a relationship. That was beautiful for me.
Amen. Amen. And that's what we're so blessed to see every day, that we help mothers and fathers changing their relationship, and not even just their love relationship. They see it instantaneously, just like you did with Dana. They're seeing it also instantaneously happening with their children, and their children observing the change in the relationship between mom and dad too. It happens that fast, and you actually have the power to shift your whole family. That's the power of this.
And that, for me, as you and I have had many personal conversations, I believe women are the nurturers of the next generation. And they look to us, whether we want them to or not, as their role models, as their relationship examples. And I believe that once we know a tool, a strategy, or a resource exists that can make us show up at our very best in our relationship, every relationship, we need to implement it. We owe it to our children so that we can have a healthy family unit. And Stace, when we come back from the commercial break, I want to dive into that because I know this is an important topic to you. And so we'll be right back with Inspired Conversations and my special guest, Stacey Martino of relationshipdevelopment.org.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Inspiration for a woman's soul. Aspire Magazine, inspiring and supporting women on the path of self-discovery. Claim your free digital subscription today, which includes access to thousands of dollars of personal development bonus gifts from Team Inspiration partners. Claim your Aspire Magazine subscription today at subscribetoaspire.com.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
This is Terry Van Horn, and I want to invite you to join me for my weekly radio show, Hailing Light, on OMTimes Radio, every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Hailing Light, we want to bring love, light, and blessings into your world. You can find out more about us at www.healinglightonline.com. Blessings.
Hey America, we need to have a little talk. We've got more food than we know what to do with in this country, yet 17 million kids in America are struggling with hunger. Makes no sense. Luckily, the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks has volunteers gathering excess food and getting it to hungry kids. They're kind of like food angels. Hey, become a food angel yourself by supporting Feeding America in your local food bank at feedingamerica.org. We can't do it without your help. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
This is OTR-FM, part of the IOM Radio Network.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy and today's guest, Stacey Martino. And right before the break, we were talking about the importance of, for all of us, I think for all adults, but especially women, to really show up fully in our relationships and create a healthy relationship, because we are the role model for our children. And there was something you said once speaking, and I heard you share this, Stace, that really touched me. In fact, you might have mentioned it in one of your Aspire Mad columns also. You said, if the relationship you have right now isn't the one you would want your adult child or grandchild to have, then it's time to shift it. Because that's what we're creating, right? So if we're in a dysfunctional, unhealthy relationship, that's their role. So let's talk about that more. Why you really are so passionate about the transformation that occurs throughout the family, not just in that couple.
Yeah, and that's really our mission, and you're right. That's what stirs my soul, and that's what we're here to do. Because we were those kids, right? All of us. The people in our lives did the best they could with what they knew. But as we've talked about, nobody teaches us this. No, we all bump through life. We're, causing pain and damage along the way because no one gets a basic relationship education. And it causes this unnecessary suffering that it doesn't have to be like this. And that was my journey too. That was Paul's journey too. And the fact that Paul and I have been blessed to have 20 years of this immersion study of mastery and relationship and create what we have today, I cannot sit here knowing that people are unnecessarily suffering like I was in relationship without just telling them, here, this is everything I know. Like, this is what we nobody ever taught us. Just do this instead, and it'll be unbelievable. It'll feel the way you want it to feel. You'll finally have the relationship that you really want. You'll have a rock-solid alignment where nothing and nobody can come between you. You'll have immense amounts of desire, be loved for who you really are, and have an ecstatic and extraordinarily passionate relationship. Just do this and give them the shortcuts, give them the tools, and give them the strategies, because we were those kids. We were brought up and nobody taught us. And, one of my mentors, my good friend Tony Robbins, has a saying that everyone's life is either a warning or an example. You get to choose which one yours is. Well, every one of us grew up with a relationship that was either a warning or an example for us. Most of us grew up with the warning. And the overcorrections we've made trying not to create that didn't exactly help us either. And so once, like you say, once you can get the tools and strategies that really work, you owe it to the children you bring into this world to be the example, because this is our opportunity to flip the switch. We have a disposable relationship society, an epidemic going on right now of people who, well, if it's not working out, then I guess it just wasn't meant to be. If it's not pleasurable, then I guess I picked the wrong person, and I guess I just have to either settle or go. And it's created this epidemic of leaving relationships as if the next one is going to somehow fix it. It's not finding the right person. It's being the person who can have that relationship. It's being the version of yourself who can create a rock-solid relationship with a partner. And until you get to be that person, that version of yourself, you take you with you right into the next relationship. And even if the original partner you're with was not right for you, you're still going to repeat a lot of the same crap that we all do in relationships, making the mistakes that we make in relationships just because we're not trained. And our kids are seeing that, and they're learning that, and the best chance we have at flipping a switch on this is that if we get the relationship education, if we start implementing these tools, if we start creating this kind of unshakable love and unleash passion in our homes, then they will learn, they will grow up learning what an unshakable love and unleashed passion was, because that was their model. And then they won't need me when they're 40 to unravel what's happened, and they can flip the switch. This is the next generation who can truly flip the switch on this disposable relationship society where nobody gets a relationship education to a magnificent relationship society where everyone gets the relationship education that they deserve. Because as humans, that's what we bring. Love is what we bring. Society is changing so fast, and automation is coming in so much. but nothing can replace the relationships that we have as humans. Nothing can replace the way that we make each other feel. And the evolution that's coming is bringing this to us, that we now have a chance to truly have magnificent love and magnificent relationships that light us up. And then we get to bring that version of ourselves to our kids, that version of ourselves to our purpose, our mission, that version of ourselves to helping people and doing what we do in the world. And that's a world I want to bring my kids up in. And that's a world I want all of us to bring our kids and our grandkids up in. And so that's why we do what we do.
Yeah, and all of it, one of the things you taught me is it's a skill, or a skill set, I should say, that we can all learn, we have access to. It's
Amen.
there, you're teaching it, it works. Yep. And, I got to say, I'm so excited because, God, how many people just tuned into a recent video series you did to teach this? This is how much this message is being embraced of, I have the power to change my relationship. Wasn't it close to 10,000 people, Stacey?
It was over 10,000. It was 13,000 people tuned in for our last video series, giving them our 8-step system on how to transform a relationship.
Yeah, and think about that for a moment, everybody. Think about how many people are so tired of the old paradigm of couples counseling and feeling like they're failing, when in reality they have, I don't like the word control, they're the master of their own destiny, right? So Amen. They can master how they show up in that relationship. And that self-mastery, which is, you're just so brilliant at teaching, Stacey, that self-mastery is what creates the shift in the relationship. And I love your example from your own experience before you ever became a relationship coach, because Stacey's path was to save her own relationship. She dove deep to say, I have to shift how I'm showing up because I'm going to lose the love of my life. And you said something in our personal conversations. You said, I think you were about a year in of diving in and changing yourself, self-mastery, as we were just talking about. And Paul showed up and came to you and said, what are you doing? You are a completely different person. Whatever this is, I want in. I just love you, admire you. And that was powerful when I heard that. And I heard it from Paul, too, when he shared with me. And I said, wow, she was so focused on healing her, getting the tools and strategies to have a healthy relationship, that he noticed.
Amen. That's true. And that is the process. It's that it went even beyond him noticing, to the point that he was shifting in response to me. He wasn't even doing the work, and yet I was like, oh, wow, he never responded like that before. Oh, wow, he never thought to do something like that or say something like that to me. He was modeling me back to me through the changes that I was making once I finally understood that the masculine and the feminine are wildly different. Yes, equal, but the same. No, we're so different. And when we understand these differences and cultivate these differences, and we can treat our partner in a way that really honors who they are, not who we are, who they are, the way they should, are wired to be, we can bring out their best and most authentic self. And I had no idea that at the time. I was doing this completely accidentally. I always say that. I am an accidental relationship teacher because I was just doing this for myself and my relationship, and accidentally discovered that, oh my gosh, this is totally shifting Paul. And that's when he came to me and he said, I even feel like a better version of a man that I want to be, and I'm not even reading what you're reading. So what are you doing? I want to jump in. And that's when I started to figure out, wow, like I completely saved my relationship without him even participating. I can help somebody else do this too when their partner doesn't want to have anything to do with it.
That had to have been just eye-opening for you. And then as the children came along, it must have empowered you to say, yes, I'm going to continue this, because one of the greatest compliments I see in your testimonials, and don't forget, I for the listeners, a lot of my friends, clients, and peers take Stacey's relationship development programs and courses. Why? Because they freaking work.
Yeah.
Right? So I get to hear from friends and peers of the transformation they went through. And like you said earlier, Stace, they may have turned to you in your programs for empowering themselves in regard to their intimate relationship, but the ripple effect is the benefit. It's like a side bonus, because the ripple effect for the other members of the family is powerful.
It is. It's such a level of life that it awakens you to what you may not have even thought was possible and certainly didn't expect. As you've seen on our website, testimonials from people saying, oh my gosh, my relationship with my folks has completely transformed. It used to be so tough, and now it's so effortless. I'm so much happier. My relationship with my son, my relationship with my daughter, the presence I'm able to bring for my kids, this completely transformed my parenting. My relationships at work, my ability to attract clients, my ability to really generate way more and serve more through my business, my relationships with my boss and the people in my team, all transforming because I'm utilizing the same tools and strategies. Because I don't know about you, but are you interacting with someone who's a guy or someone who's a girl? The answer is yes. So these tools and strategies are the same for all humans that you're interacting with. I often joke and say, if you're interacting with a lizard, I can't help you, but if it's a human, this works. And most importantly, the ones that really stir my soul and bring emotion to me are the testimonials from people who say, my relationship with myself, I'm finally proud of who I am. I love this version of myself, and I didn't realize how unhappy I was with the person I became, and I love who I get to be today. And the reason why that really speaks to me is because I hated who I was being, too, many years ago, and this work transformed me into the version of myself that I love to be. And you know what? We have to be with ourselves 24/7. There's no end. And it's not a life fully lived if you're not loving who you are and proud of who you are and proud of what you do every day for yourself and your relationships. There's just nothing more important than living this way at a level 10, and that's what we teach.
Oh, and you teach us so well. I've been blessed to be on the receiving end. And when we come back from our commercial break, I want to talk about the types of people you work with, because I want to break another myth when we come back, and that's about, well, I'm not in a relationship right now, so I don't need a relationship coach. So that's a big one, and I've sent some friends your way. So we'll be back in a moment with Linda Joy of Inspired Conversations and my special guest, Stacey Martino of RelationshipDevelopment.org.
Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you ready to experience the unshakable love and unleashed passion you really want? Great news! Discover what thousands of people are doing to transform their relationships in ways they never thought possible. And your partner does not need to participate in the process to enjoy the results you want in your relationship. Relationship expert and Aspire magazine columnist Stacey Martino and her husband Paul are the founders of RelationshipDevelopment.org and Relationship U. They have successfully empowered thousands of clients with tools and strategies that really work to transform their relationship. Any relationship. And your partner does not even need to participate for their proven system to work for you. Transforming your relationship is possible, and it begins with you. Take the first step and visit RelationshipDevelopment.org today.
The advisors participating at advisors.omtimes.com were carefully chosen based on their gifts, skills, and professionalism. OMTimes Advisors, connecting you with the best advisors in the business.
Circle of Hearts Radio is a sanctuary on the airwaves. Join me, Grandmother Elia, in the circle on Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern, as I share information to both enlighten and nourish your soul.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. Free your mind. Expand your soul. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Welcome back to Inspired Conversations. This is Linda Joy, and I'm enjoying a passionate conversation with Stacey Martino, a dear friend and a sought-after relationship expert. And right before break, I said, Stace, you know what we have to talk about, because I hear it too many times with my friends and peers when I tell them about Stacey's work and the impact it's had on my life. And they're like, oh, Linda, I don't need that. I don't need Stacey because I'm not in a relationship. I'm like, oh, my God, this is why you need it even more. Do you understand? I've watched you have how many dysfunctional relationships. So let's talk about that, because there's a false belief that relationship programs or coaching aren't for them because they're not in one. So dive in, Stace, because I know you're going to kick some butt on this one.
Well, see, that's why we are relationship development, because it's personal development for your relationship. Whether you're married or you're not married, in relationship or not in relationship, all the work is done individually, right? We say it only takes one partner to transform a relationship, even when both partners want to do the work, and sometimes that absolutely happens within our programs and events. You do the work individually because it's relationship development work, and the same is true if you're not in a relationship. Here's what I know for sure, because a large percentage of our clients are not currently in relationships, but they want to be in a successful relationship for them. That's the key word, successful. And what I know for sure is what I said even during this conversation is, if you don't learn the tools and strategies that really work to create an unshakable love and an unleashed passion, if you don't get this relationship education, then you take you with you to the next relationship. And if you do that, you're destined to repeat a lot of the same patterns. This is what happens. You meet somebody, there's chemistry, there's electricity, then you get together. That fades in about 6 months. And after about 6 months, you have this moment where, and I've done a video on this before, called bam, same crap, new face. It's the same problems in a new partner, and a lot of it is because you're bringing the same patterns that you've had in old relationship. You don't know it's a problem. That's why it's a problem. We don't do these things intentionally. We have the most positive of intention, but even with the most positive of intention, without these skills and tools, you'll create kerfuffle. So I always say not every marriage is meant to last. I'm the first person to say that not every marriage is meant to last, and we do help a lot of people do this work so that they can actually rescue their relationship, not necessarily their marriage, and peacefully co-parent with the partner they need to co-parent with. The same is true for the person who's single. It's not necessarily that the relationship you were in before was a right relationship for you and you just didn't have the tools and strategies. Sometimes that's true. But even when that partner was not the right person for you, there's still an element of your skill set level that you brought to that relationship. And until you up-level it, you'll bring a lot of the same dynamics to the next one. But even more importantly is finally getting clarity and honing in on what is the best relationship for you and what is a relationship that will have what we call long-term alignment. And our programs and events take you through that piece of getting clarity about what is the best relationship that's for you, the authentic you, not who you've been trying to be for others. And it's time to start unraveling some of the contorting and the pleasing and the twisting that we've done over the years trying to please someone as a relationship was on its way out. A lot of damage happens to who we really are, and we look at ourselves and we wonder, who the heck really are we? It's time to come back to your best and most authentic self, learn what is the best relationship for you, and get empowered with the tools and strategies to do that, and that's what we do in our programs and events.
Yeah, and it's so powerful. And again, it's about self-mastery. We take us into every single relationship that we have.
Yes.
And so I'm so glad that we touched base on this for all my single friends out there. And one of the things I want to dive into, and let me see what we still have time, I really want to talk about the masculine and the feminine. And what you mean by that in your teachings, because that was another powerful element. Because when you and we'll talk about that in a moment, but for me, when I heard you talk about it, I'm like, whoa, in my 30s especially, I was go, 14-hour days driving. I can see now it was really masculine energy, pushing, striving, driving. And
Yep.
I think that was probably maybe right before I met Dana and maybe in the first couple of years until I began this journey. So can we talk about that? Because I think a lot of people go, what do you mean? I'm a woman. Of course I'm feminine. But it's an energy thing.
Yeah, masculine and feminine energy is really misunderstood. It's a common challenge that we find today and it doesn't matter what body you're in, right? I might say men, I mean someone who's a masculine core. I might say woman, I mean someone who's a feminine core. And so what we find today very often are men they're stuck in their feminine or disconnected from their masculine, and women who are operating from their masculine. And what does that mean? So masculine energy is rooted, decisive, assertive, knows who he is, knows what he wants, and shows up to serve, protect, and provide. And that's the mature masculine that I'm teaching. We also teach the difference between mature and immature. Immature comes from a selfish nature, all of those phenomenal masculine qualities, but selfishly just to get what he wants, doesn't care what others want. The mature masculine shows up to serve, protect, and provide, putting others' interests, especially his women, before himself to make a difference in her world. And the feminine energy, which gets such a bad rap. So many people think femininity is weakness. Femininity is the farthest thing from weakness. Feminine energy is nothing more than an energy of being open and a willingness to be vulnerable. And if you're hearing me say that, and even the thought or the words or the feelings of being open and being willing to be vulnerable make you feel like you want to close up and protect, because why would anybody want to do that? Then odds are you're operating from your masculine, as that was my journey as well in my 20 years ago when my nickname was the Ice Princess, and I was certainly operating from my masculine back then. And what we have right now is a very, very common dynamic of women who have been hurt over time and gone into protecting, and men who have disconnected from the masculine because the masculine energy got such a bad rap, and have distanced themselves and are not showing up to serve, protect, and provide. So women are stepping up because they're like, hey, I got to look out for myself then. If nobody else is driving the ship, I guess it's me. Got to provide for myself, got to provide for my family, got to make the decisions, make it happen, push, drive, control. All of those things are masculine operating for feminine women. All of the pushing, the controlling, the driving, the protecting, the withdrawing, suiting up, putting up walls, that's all operating from your masculine. And you're doing that out of protection, and there's nothing, it's completely human nature. However, it's exhausting. And it picks away at a woman's soul to operate from her masculine with no end in sight. And when men are not operating from their masculine, they lose the life force. And you can see it everywhere you look. Men who are completely checked out, right? They're going through the motions, but they're not present. There's no fire. There's no drive. There's no power there. They're just checked out. And this is what's creating another epidemic that we have of this passionless relationship, because there's no charge. There's no masculine and feminine energy coming together to create passion. Women are burnt out and exhausted from doing everything, driving and making it all happen. And men are checked out and passionless because they don't have any fuel. They're not attached to their power, which is their masculine energy. And no one ever teaches us how to do this well together in a way that honors who we really are, allows us both to experience the utmost of personal power, honoring each other and really serving each other. Men able to step in and really serve, protect, and provide for their woman, and a woman who can receive that, allow for that, and really light up with their man in a way that just you don't see a lot of today, but we all kind of hunger for. And it's not the easiest thing to journey home to. It's not really being something that you're not. It's actually journeying back to something that you are deep down that no one really ever gave us the tools to sustain. But it's the secret juice, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, and I would rather live authentically and be loved for who I am than
Amen.
live inauthentically and be loved for who I'm not, right?
Amen.
And that was big for me. And you touched on a word that 20 years ago I was the one going, vulnerable? What do you mean?
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until I allowed myself to be vulnerable and real and that I feel like I was starting to fully show up in my own life, never mind my own relationships.
Amen.
I had to drop that shield. I had to drop that armor that I think, like you said, men and women carry it. I mean, it's from the wounds of the past, but how long do you want to freaking carry it?
That's right. It's exhausting. And the part that chips away at your soul is what you just touched on. It's, you know what, if you're not operating from your true core energy, then the truth of the matter is, and we've all done it, we're just pretending to be something that we're not to try to please others or be who we think other people need us to be. And not only is that exhausting, but like you just said, you're never going to be your most powerful being inauthentic, and that's inauthentic. So then we end up failing at doing something we didn't even want to do just to try to please someone else, and it chips away at our soul until we're exhausted. And we think that the problem is the symptoms that we see. We think the problem is we're not having sex with our partner anymore. We think the problem is nothing's getting done, or I'm too busy at work, or the kids are too much. We think the problem is we have financial challenges, we have stress, we have busyness. We think the problems are the symptoms, but that's why it never gets solved. When you're looking at the symptom, you can never actually solve the problem. You have to look at a cause, and a cause of what's going on and why we have a lack of passion and a lack of electricity and a lack of personal energy about us is because we've lost our connection to our feminine radiance or our masculine presence, and we're missing that. That's the eternal flame that will empower you and fuel you up more than anything else.
And that part is one of the most powerful things, I think, is when we show up authentically. I don't know, I think it gives others in our lives, especially our intimate relationship, permission to do the same.
Yep.
It's
Amen.
like, wow, she's dropping her shield, and then your partner starts to go, well, maybe I'll put mine down a little bit. And then till the swords and the shields are down and you're both showing up fully. That was a big thing for me, because in my early years, and I think, I'm not sure if this is your truth, Stace, but my 20s and 30s was spent becoming exactly what that person needed me to be.
Yeah.
You know, if he was a hunter and wanted LL Bean, God, I can't even look at the LL Bean catalog now. And then if someone else wanted high heels and the suits and all that, oh yeah, I became so disconnected from myself. And I think so many of us do that in relationships. But when we turn inward, as you said, when we become the master of ourselves, then it ripples out and radiates to the rest. And we'll be back in a moment with more of these relationship tips and strategies from Stacey Martino of relationshipdevelopment.org.
A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Are you tired of waiting for the right time to live your purpose, shine your light, and share your sacred gifts with the world? Purpose and Success Coach Stacey Curnow, also known as the midwife for your life, remembers that feeling well. She left a thriving 20-year career as a nurse midwife to successfully and passionately help women give birth to their big dreams. If you are a purpose-driven, spirit-led woman who is ready to break free from your fears and doubts and create a life and business you absolutely love, stop by Stacey's blog at staceycurnow.com for empowering resources, inspiring content, and to schedule a complimentary Live on Purpose discovery session.
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
Hi everyone, this is Shay Parker, the host of Best of the Best, which airs live right here on IOM Radio every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Pacific. I'm super excited to bring you expert guest hosts, spiritual discussions, free psychic readings, and so much more. I can promise that you will not want to miss this one-of-a-kind, fun, yet touching, down-to-earth show. Join us every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific on OTR-FM. This is Shay Parker, and I can't wait to see you there.
The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is. A conscious lifestyle for a mindful life. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Hi, you're listening to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy, and today I'm joined by my dear friend and sought-after relationship expert, Stacey Martino, and we're just talking about being loved for your authentic self, right? And showing up fully in your relationship and putting down the barriers and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, because it's from that place that you can truly experience transformation in your life and in your relationships. And Stace, what is one of the biggest barriers that you see that stop people from doing this, stop them from allowing themselves? Is it fear? What is it? Is it control? I never can tell the difference. Are they afraid to lose control?
Well, I think that it all comes from fear, and everybody's fear is their own fear of whatever that personal piece is for you, your own personal choice of fear. I think what stops people from doing this kind of work, not believing that it will work for them, and if they try something that people say will work for you and it doesn't work for you, well, what does that mean about me? Another huge fear that people have is, what if I'm the one? Why should I be the one to do the work if he doesn't want to or if she doesn't want to? Because that feels like I'm being a doormat, right? I'm giving and I'm not getting. And I think that element of scorekeeping, which we talk about heavily in our programs and in our content, is one of the things that has turned your relationship from what it once was to what it is now. Because nobody gets into a relationship to keep score. That's not where you're supposed to be keeping score, and actually we show you why your scorekeeper is broken in relationships, because it always adds up with you getting the short end of the stick. But that fixation on I'm only going to give if I'm going to get is killing your relationship. It's actually killing all of your relationships in your life, and the people in your life can actually feel that you're scorekeeping and measuring, because you can feel when other people are doing it too. And so it's decreasing the satisfaction and the feeling of relationship in your life. That's another big fear that people have. And there's a general sense of fear that we all carry of being who we really are and being accepted for that. We just talked about that in terms of masculine and feminine energy. Of course, there are many, many different layers to that. But we've all grown up. We start out magnificent and perfect the way we are, right? A baby is born and we say, you can be anything you want. You're perfect. Everything you do is awesome. And then somewhere along the way, we start getting reprimanded for being who we are. And we start to learn that, to get love, then I can't do this or I have to do this. And we start contorting ourselves and pleasing and bending and changing and, don't be that loud, or, don't laugh at that, or don't say something like that. And we change ourselves for love. And we never actually get the tools of how to be our best and most authentic self and be loved for who we really are. It's what we try to teach our kids, but we didn't get to teach ourselves. And so it can be scary, and that's why all of our events and all of our programs, when we help somebody to do this work in their lives, You are usually the only person in your relationship doing the work, but we never let you do the work alone. That's the whole point of our groups, what you know as our tribe, our lovies, is all of our clients do this work with each other together in a group. We refer to it as your seventh power. It's your tribe, the people who are happily on the same journey as you, because you need people who get what you're doing. You need a soft place to land when you've had a tough moment, and you need people who will celebrate stuff that only we get because we're doing it too, right? I was able to stay open and vulnerable even when my husband was freaking out, right? You can't run up to your next door neighbor and say that. They'd be like, what the hell's wrong with you? You're a crazy person.
And you know what I love too about your tribe and the community and the levies is it's a no judgment zone.
Amen. And that's the key.
That
right?
is key because it's a vulnerable place to be, to bring kinship into it. And it's such a sacred space, and I think that's what's key, no judgment zone. And
it transforms you. It allows you to be who you really are because we do not tolerate judgment in our community in any way. It's one of the primary values of relationshipdevelopment.org is we come from compassion. We have zero judgment. I know that my clients always say that about me. Of course, personally now doing this work, helping 10,000 or more people, I've seen probably everything and heard everything. Everybody has their own personal journey. I come with no judgment, but I teach my students and my clients and our team how to come with no judgment. And there's no judgment here. We are all in it together. We love each other through. And without a community, I don't think most people could do the kind of relationship development work and truly change their relationships, elevate themselves, and create this in their lives without the support of this community and the guidance that we give. And that's why we have this. So that's one of the key strategies to removing the fear that you have of doing it is when you think you're the only one or you think you're going to be alone, oh my gosh, it's almost impossible. But when you're surrounded with success, a proven process that works, and you surround yourself with people who are also on the same journey, oh my gosh, you're unstoppable, and that's the difference.
It's a big difference.
Yeah.
And Stace, I swear our time together always goes by so fast because it's something you and I are both passionate about. I mean, I love shouting from the rooftops about your work. I'm so honored that we get to share this time and educate more people that you don't have to, that it is possible to transform your relationship yourself. Yes. And that Amen. Is such a powerful, the moment you get that, the transformation's already begun. And you need to turn to Stacey and relationshipdevelopment.org for the tools and strategies to help you implement those changes in your life. So thank you, beautiful, for joining me. And thank you
so much for having me.
I am so excited. I want everyone, again, to visit relationshipdevelopment.org today. And I want to thank everybody for being here, for tuning in to Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy. And I invite you to listen in every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern for more conversations with visionary women just like Stacey who are here to share their feminine wisdom to support you in living your best life. So for even more inspiration, claim your free subscription to Aspire magazine, which includes over 40 transformational gifts. And you can do that at subscribe.toaspire.com. And you'll also be able to read Stacey's column in every issue that will help you transform your relationship. So until next time, choose love, choose joy, choose happiness.
Thanks for listening to Inspired Conversations with publisher Linda Joy. Join our sacred space every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern and meet leading female visionaries, empowering authors, heart-centered female entrepreneurs, coaches, and healers. Inspired Conversations with Linda Joy is a soulful venue where guests share the obstacles they've overcome, along with wisdom and lessons learned on their personal journey that led them to the transformational work they do in the world. Inspired Conversations to empower you on your path to authentic and soulful living.